Gaurav, your face is not
All right. Thank you for that,
visible.
Varna. I hope for all you can see my screen and my face and you can hear me clearly. Okay. So the reason why we have gathered today is on a masterclass. The masterclass is going to be taken by our director, which is primarily going to revolve around how should an HRMS implementation be done and what are the common gaps that companies face that are when they're beginning an implementation. I understand the audience would be a mix of people who have already implemented, are on the verge of implementation, or who are thinking of getting a system implemented. And I believe this masterclass that has been designed is to cater for all of the audiences. To give to give an introduction about our director, Mrs. Vibha, who would be taking this webinar forward. So she's a very distinguished leader in the space of organizational people development, with over 30 years of extensive experience in driving high impact strategies, as well as taking companies to the next level in terms of bringing a transformative change. That's what Vibha has done, right? And talking about the experience she brings on the table, so she's held prominent leadership roles at head of HR, Godrej and Boyce, and the program director, Aditya Birla. And today, or at this day, she is one of the directors at FiEdge, and also leading one very distinguished vertical, which is the HR advisory. Yeah, I think over to you, Vibha, to take this webinar forward. And my request to all participants would be that please be as interactive as possible. There is going to be polls, there is going to be questions. As many questions that you ask, I think that's going to give a better understanding of the whole session to everyone throughout. Yeah, I think over to you, and let's kickstart this masterclass.
Team, can you hear me? Everybody can hear me? Is that okay?
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I repeat again, I think, thank you, Gaurav, for sharing about, my profile. And today what we are going to do is in terms of looking at the HRMS implementation, which is going to be when we have worked across implementation across many companies and across different industries, we have realized that there are certain critical success factors that need to be taken care of when we are looking at having a complete ROI of an HRMS implementation. And what we bring to you are certain critical conversations which we can have around this subject. We've tried to build a format on this that we will do 6 seminars, different kind of seminars every week, every fortnight, to ensure that we touch upon every topic, we deep dive on each topic, share views with each other, and then come out so that people can have successful HR implementations. What I share with you today is a framework which we have done for mid-size organizations. And this data, what I'm going to share, is something that we have tested it across different data points. We are going to have 6 master classes. The first one, which is going to be today, is about HRMS buying decisions, most organizations where they go wrong, what needs to be done prior to buying an HRMS. The second is, of course, going to be the most critical, which is the HR leader's role in driving this transformation, how you're looking at it as a change transformation initiative. The third aspect is going to be how do you increase the adoption rate between managers and employees. The fourth one, of course, is going to be how do you prove the ROI on the investment which is made on the HRMS. And fifth one is, of course, some great HRMS projects, how they build a stakeholders alignment. And the last is, of course, the lessons learned out of failed HRMS, which can help you in terms of ensuring that you have a great ROI of the HRMS that you have implemented. So let's get some reality checks done here. And if you see, and I see this very often while doing our consulting work, is that you have the HRMS, but still the HR teams will trust more the Excel sheets which are there. The data dump will be taken from the HRMS. The team will work on the Excel, and there is a parallel system which continues in the system. And this I've seen 70% of the time that people are looking at still Excel and manual processes. The HR people focusing more on, how to get the, how to manage the paperwork still and focus on admin work rather than looking at, working on talent retention or key hiring or culture development, because still there is something which is dependent on the person himself. We see payroll cycles and errors happening. And also we see many a times that the HR doesn't have enough quality time to do hires and continue to look at, most of the time I've seen that HR just forward the resumes to the line managers, and the line managers keep talking about how HR is not value adding in the recruitment process and only forwarding the resumes. I would like the team here to just put in the chat box, does any of these four factors, whether it is still working on Excel, 30 to 40% of the HR time going on admin work, payroll, avoidable errors, long hiring cycles, does any of this ring the bell with any of you all? Does this today happen in some of the MSMEs today? Okay. Okay, now let's go to the next one. So if you see that we look at the HRMS cost, but there are certain hidden costs which we don't realize. The first is the HR team's productivity. It goes down by almost 20 to 25% in terms of productivity because you're working on manual thing. There is a single person dependency. The moment an HR leader or HR critical person leaves, the knowledge which is with that person also goes with the person, and there is chaos in the organization. And then, of course, we have certain times that the leaders, I always say that decisions are actually made by the leaders based on the data which is provided. And if the data is inaccurate, it will impact sometimes the decision making. And we see the cost of that, the cost of a wrong decision is much higher in an organization than the actual cost which comes in. And of course, there is compliance exposure, which is the critical thing that PF, ESIC statutory filings don't forgive, even if there are spreadsheet typo errors. So when we look at all these aspects, the cost of a poor HRMS system is way higher than what actually the cost you pay to the vendor. And that is why it is all the more important that the decision is taken, a well-informed decision is taken around. Next. I'm happy some of you all did share that, yes, there is an issue. The another big challenge which I see in terms of HRMS is that 50% of the HRMS rollout see low or no usage within 12 months. We see that people may have HRMS, may have taken 15 modules, but what they are actually using is only leave, attendance, and payroll most of the time. And why is that so? Of course, payroll is a must-have because you need to pay salaries to employees, so that's used. And leave is something, attendance is something where employees know that if attendance is not marked correctly, their pay or salary will not come out. But apart from that, we've seen that the usage goes down drastically. And why does this happen? Because there is a resistance to change. Sometimes new tools bring up transparency in the process, and we see that most of the employees who have established habits and informal authority within the organization will resist this. Sometimes I've seen that people have only power because they have data with them. And the moment you have an HRMS, you kind of remove that power from their hands. And therefore, we see a lot of resistance of employees. Most of the time, they will blame the system. So adoption also gets impacted. The second thing is, of course, the digital readiness of the team. If you look at it, software training, there's a training gap. Digital readiness is not there. You can get a great software, but if you do not build the capability within the organization, the adoption will be a miss. And the most important and the critical thing is that leadership does not lead the change. Leadership just gets involved in the buying out process, and after that leaves it for the HR to implement it. And they don't see the dashboard, or they don't use the software themselves to really see how beneficial it is for the organization. Because I've seen that whichever dashboard the leader is watching, automatically the entire company, even if it means having 500 employees, will start giving importance to that dashboard. So what is important is that many a times the adoption of any HRMS is a real challenge, and I'll come dwell deeper during my later on episodes on how do we improve the adoption in a company.
I would like to ask a
let's
quick
now
question.
work a little bit on our episode 1, which is also on what needs to be done before buying an HRMS. So far we just covered about the context of why the sessions are critical, but right now let's focus in this episode on why HRMS buying decision is very, very important. And I'm going to share with you some of the learnings here. So why many
Before
times
we
I've seen that, in fact, recently I attended a conference and we saw some HR talking that, I asked them, why do you want to take an HRMS? And, the answer was that no, at a board level, there is a directive that we want to bring in automation across our organization, across the functions, and therefore I really need to have an HRMS in the organization. Or sometimes there is your HR folk who's kind of bought a particular software and he's very happy with it, and he tells you that, okay, you are not working with HRMS, you are today, it is a time of AI and automation, and you are not in the race, and therefore you really decide that no, let's look at an HRMS, I really need it. So, and sometimes you definitely have chaos in the organization and you want to build an HRMS, but however, the clarity is not there. So what's important is to identify what is the problem that you are solving by getting an HRMS. And this particular exercise needs to be done before going ahead and choosing the vendor who's going to give you the HRMS. So what we say is that when you look at an HRMS, it's not a software purchase. I actually believe that it's an operating model decision dressed up as a software purchase. It is going to be how the people strategy and the people piece execution is going to happen within the organization. Today, fortunately, with the unified systems that we have in HRMS is like an ERP, a mini tool. And what is important is to understand that your people strategy, your people experience, your people increments, your people's career growths, all that is going to be decided by the way your software is designed. And therefore, it is very, very important to understand that this decision, what you're going to take, is impacting you for the next 5 years. The second most important, and this is the second thing which is critical, is to look at the process maturity. It always precedes the software maturity. We believe that we'll get the processes are not great. We get a great system, but it doesn't work because the process maturity is not there. Because I believe that if you automate chaos, you're going to get deliver faster chaos in the organization. And the third is the ownership. Who is owning this drive? Who is owning this transformation in the company? Until you have an owner who's decided, you will not have HRMS exercise done correctly. And this must be done before signing the contract. It cannot be IT, it cannot be procurement, it cannot be the management, it has to be the HR leader who's owning this project and with a lot of authority and responsibility to see to it how he can execute this. Any thoughts on this, team? Does it ring the bell? That these things are important, and look at HRMS as a change management intervention rather than looking at only as a software purchase. Any comments, team? Great. Thank you for the feedback. Next. So, what do you do before buying the HRMS? The first thing is to write down what is the problem you're going to solve. Don't look at what the vendor is going to give you. First, look at what is your pain points which you're going to solve by using the HRMS. What are your must-have and good to have? Sometimes the must-have could be performance management. Sometimes the must-have could be leave attendance payroll. Sometimes the must-have could be employee lifecycle management, or it could be also training. Every company may have a different critical must-have for which they want to buy an HRMS. What's important is to articulate your pain points. For example, I have payroll errors, or I have attendance gap, or I have hiring delays, or I have exit date leaks, or policies not being followed. Whatever are your pain points, conduct a workshop, have a stakeholder alignment, and define what are the problem statements that you're trying to solve by using an HRMS. That's the starting point. Second most important thing while buying an HRMS is about, the first thing I've seen in many of the organization is that let's take the one which has the lowest price. And I keep hearing this a lot, to say that all HRMS are same, so please give me the cheapest option. But team, please beware of this, because it's a cheap trap. You pick up the cheapest option, the adoption rate doesn't come, you again invest into an HRMS. So what's important, and ultimately you spend 2 to 3x of what actually you would have just by saving 5-10 rupees per employee per month cost. So what is important is, do not get into the cost-based decision trap. Look at what is the HRMS really solving the problem that you have within the organization, because the ROI will actually be much higher than what is the cost involved in that. The third thing, so let's say you have defined the problem statements, you have looked at, okay, what is the kind of budget you're going to look at. Now, what I've seen is, and this is typical of many salespeople I've seen, that demo is like a movie, right? It's a demo theater. You have all the clean data available. The sales guy picks up the great features of the demo, and you have the best case integration scenario. You don't have any exceptions, and bingo, you are very impressed, and you say, okay, let me buy the product. But what is important is to understand during the production reality what it has to say. Is there inconsistent and legacy data? Is there some user friendliness which is not there? Are there bad networks and speed issue? Are the security taken care of by the software? So what's important is also look at that. Don't just go by the demo, but actually do a deep dive within the system, maybe taking the demo logins with yourself, understanding a user experience within the demo before deciding which HRMS to buy. The fourth thing, and this is very important, and this is something which I've seen very often. Imagine you are riding a Ferrari in Dharavi. Will you be able to enjoy the ride? I think the answer is no. So many a times we take enterprise grade systems They are great, but they are built for matured processes. And my experience says that most of the MSMEs that come in don't have that kind of maturity, the processes. So your process maturity may be at 50%, and the tool capability, let's say, is at 90%. You will not be, you will land up in a situation, the result is going to be that you will have confused users because they will not be able to use that kind of high level of enterprise grade system. There will be underused modules, high license fee, low ROI, and buyers remorse within 18 months. I want changes. People can't use it. So many times I've seen that enterprise grade systems are used by companies, but they use only one or two modules and don't really use the entire system, and they don't get the ROI of what spend they have done on the system. The next thing is that if you look at, this is very critical before you buy the HRMS, is to look at what is the digital literacy in your company. Because most of the MSMEs have a hybrid workforce. You know, some of them are, you have supervisors and shop floor field staff, which do not have that kind of digital literacy. And you may have 30 to 40% of the workforce, which is only the white collared and can actually use the system well. So that way, if you see, you have, you know, you need a system which probably the 60 and 70% of the people can utilize is better. For example, you have the, you know, you how well the mobile is being integrated. Do you have, you know, user friendly features in it? Is it photo based? Is it vernacular? Can a person who's at a very low this utilize it? That's very important to understand. I like a question which has come in, and I think I would like to take it up at the end, team, if you allow, maybe, because some of the things that you have added in this, we will cover. Yes. So then, of course, we have desktop comfortable, expect dashboards and exports. So, you know, we need to understand what is the digital literacy that we have within our company and how our people are going to look at the software. So it has to not be so much about the software, but more about our culture, our pain points, our digital literacy. The next one, which is very important, is the human factor. Even if today we are talking about AI, we are talking about automation, team, it is the people who have to use it. So if the people don't find it user friendly, it's not going to be acceptable. And whether we like it or not, go live, people, many of the HRMS organizations say that the go live is in 15 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you'll start working. But honestly, for the full adoption to happen, my experience says that you need 12 months of operating discipline. You need to treat it like, you know, it's a discipline which needs to come into the users. And how do you do that? How do you bring that kind of discipline? How do you ensure that, you know, for continual 12 months, people are using and they continue to use it till it becomes a habit? The first thing is that design it for the weakest user. If your most digitally conscious employee can actually use it from day one, then bingo, that's the software for you. The second thing is that don't try to implement all the features of the HRMS in one go. Take up one module, ensure that the implementation is effective, people are accepting it, then show it as a success, let it be a win, and then take up the next one. That's very important. So that's how adoption, people will start trusting you and the software. So take up one by one. I've seen, and we typically recommend to our customer success team that please work out a 12-month operating discipline plan with the companies if you want really the adoption rate to go up. And in fact, we also have a barometer which we have for our clients where we tell them how much of percentage of adoption you have done, your company has done of the system. And the last is that we have to have an owner. I repeat this because it's very important. We need internal champions who have a quarterly KPI or a monthly KPI where the percentage of adoption is measured for the people and they are ensuring that the same is done. So what, after all this, what should MSMEs should actually evaluate? I would say the number one and the single biggest predictor of adoption is ease of use. Why is I say that, why has QR code and GPay really worked with everybody in India? Even our vegetable vendors will use that, and today I've seen even beggars on the road, they are actually using QR code. It's because of ease of use. It's very easy to use. So we have to see that which HRMS, not cost mind you, which HRMS is easy to use. The second important thing is integration depth. Today you're going to have almost all your functions going through automation. You're going to have an ERP, you may have IoT. You need to ensure that how the software that you're taking, can it really integrate with all the other system with ease? Can your payroll JV be integrated with the ERP? Can the loan deductions that you do for employees integrated with the ERP? Can the operator's attendance be integrated with an IoT? That kind of integration and APIs is very important, and we need to judge the HR software, HRMS, on that. The third is, of course, scalability. Can the HRMS today, it may be cheaper, but if you tomorrow grow by, let's say, 2x, you have multiple locations, you have multiple companies, can your HRMS software really help you in scaling? And the fourth thing, and which is typically not looked at, I have seen n number of HR people who are fed up with the tickets they raise for HR to the HRMS teams. Every time they call up, there is something not working, they will be asked, please raise a ticket. The ticket will not be resolved. There will not be a face who's talking to them, and that human touch is missing. And believe me, for the first 12 months of working, you need that kind of support from the vendors. So when your team, you are looking at buying an HRMS, don't say which tool has more features. You look at which tool will my team actually use. How will I as an organization get the ROI for the same? One of the other things that I think team bear in mind is that look at unified HRMS. For example, what happens is that today we have best of the breed. You have multiple tools. Each tool is best in class. You have data which is in 4-5 systems. Reconciliation eats HR time. Today, we were recently dealing with a client who had more than 1,200 employees, and it had 3 systems, and all 3 systems were not talking to each other, and the HR head himself had a very tough time actually integrating both of them. And honestly, today also he was not being able to do, because one of the vendors is an enterprise class level vendor who's not giving that kind of support to that team. The second is that that every time there is an integration and you do an upgrade, mind you, and this is very important to understand, if the system does an upgrade, it impacts the integration that you have done. And that is something that, again, you have to go through the process of every time an upgrade happens to ensure that the integration is working. And there is no single source of truth, because you're relying on different systems. So therefore, guys, go for one platform. Go for an unified HRMS, which may have slightly fewer features, but it will have all end-to-end records. All modules talk to each other. There is a one vendor you are talking to. The one vendor takes the responsibility, and you can also show a better visibility to your leadership accordingly. So I would any day say that unified systems beats best of breed every time. And the cost of integration friction is invisible. So therefore, it's important that you look at a unified HRMS. Now, once you have taken care of these things and you start working and you decide a vendor, what's important is to do a referral check. And referral check should be speak to 2-3 customers in your size, not vendor-handed marquee names. Because this is also say that, if you take only the people who the vendor is asking, then what happens is that you don't know, they may just give the best man. So we have to know, okay, what would you do differently? Have that connect with the customer directly, talk to them, understand how was their experience. The second important thing is definitely I have seen that when we take a demo, we always have that, okay, this will also be done. Okay, we can do this also. This will also be, there's no worry. This is very easy to do. Team, before finalizing the contract, document every commitment. This is a very serious business, and it's important that whatever is promised during the demo must appear in the SOW. Because after some time, the sales team are not going to be working with you, the customer success is going to be working with you. So whatever is in the SOW stays. So document every commitment. Third is the test support before signing. Raise a ticket, see how they respond. How is it that they are? Because the time typically they have taken for evaluate, for responding to you, multiply it by 3, that is the actually real world response time. So do these kind of tests before you kind of finalize the vendor. So guys, beyond the demo, I have a 5-question filter, which I think you can answer when you're deciding in HRMS. The first is that show me a current customer of my size struggling with your, that's a very different question. What went wrong with them? What is that your real average go live time is, not the brochure number. How much time it generally will take for me to, let's say, achieve 70% adoption rate. And then this is important, that can I really shadow a real user, not a sales rep, but a real user for 30 minutes on your live system? Can I understand how he's feeling? What features do most of your customers stop after 6 months? That's very important. These are all negative questions, but it will help you understand how the HRMS is going to be implemented within your organization. And the last one is, if we leave in a year 3, how do you get the data back? That is also something, in mind you, that particular thing has to be a part of your agreement. So these are simple questions which can help you actually in defining, what to see beyond a demo with the sales representative, because typically our questions are around cost. And I have seen that, the procurement team guy comes and he says, look, these are the 3, I think this is the most efficient one, let's take this. And HR say is not value. But what's important is to even sensitize them that, look, hey guys, don't look at just the cost, what is on that paper there. Look at what is going to be the ROI, and overall what is going to, whether it's going to be a cost effective equation in a year's time. So here is a decision framework for you, which all of you can kind of please take print screen so that you can use it for yourself. The first is problem clarity. Tap 5 pain points, written it down, see to it that your HRMS is solving them. Second is, while you are closing on the vendor and preparing for the go live, work on process readiness, how your workflows are mature or not, and they are ready for digitization. Are people aware of them? Are people following that? Third is team capability. In your team, have an internal champion and a change management owner who can drive this entire initiative. Fourth is simplicity, right size, not enterprise creep. A right size HRMS. And the fifth is vendor reliability. It's reference checked and contract locked. If you have these 5, this is a decision-making framework I would like to submit for you. Any one you skip, and believe me, my experience says that you will have to rebuy in 24 months. So please, team, look at these 5 decision frameworks, and then let's take it forward. So if you are going to be in an organization for 3 years and you're buying software, the first year should be about stabilizing basics. The second year should be about adoption muscle, and the third should be the strategic layer. Please, guys, look at this. So it's 3 years HRMS ROI. Honestly, is a 3 years plan. 1 year you work with the vendor. Second year you kind of work on your own, and third year you can't start giving ROI by giving strategic inputs. So look at this kind of roadmap for teams, and in fact, even your module usage you can do based on this kind of. It could be depending upon the size, depending upon the digital literacy of the team, the number of months could reduce here and there. But this is how the whole process will work. So here with this, I will now start taking up the question and answers. I leave you with this thought that HRMS success is driven by more by clarity and adoption, not so much by features and not by cost, definitely. So look at this before you buy your software. Now I'm open to the questions. We can take for the next 10 minutes questions. So I have something which one of the participants had written, and I'll read it out, and then others can also type whatever questions they have. The question is that as many HODs involved in the process, it's challenging for HR to bring all on the same page. I kind of agree with them, like approving leaves, providing KRA reviews for his or her department. How HRMS can solve these operational contingencies? What should be the role of the process owner, means HR? Great question, and I think you are bang on. Some of the things I have included, but it's not one solution. I think what is important is, first of all, awareness. A lot of training needs to be done. It is also about doing in a stepwise manner adoption within the company. For example, if you're looking at leave, KRAs, KPIs, expense management, asset management, do it step by step. Don't do all together. That's going to be my second key thing. The third thing is going to be have stakeholder alignment. You need to ensure that your leaders are aligned, and so wherever you need the muscle to bring that implementation, you will need to do that. So if you have these things, you have awareness, you have training, you have support, you have leadership alignment, then it will be much easier, and step-by-step approach to adoption, it may help you. Anybody else has any questions, team? Please open to share. Okay, it's fine for us. He will coordinate. Okay. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else has any questions, please, team? Okay. I think we are running out of time. And so, team, this was the first episode, and really looking forward to see you all in the next session, where we will talk about how, as an HR leader, you need to drive transformation. Look at it as a transformation. So see you all on Wednesday, 21st May, Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Thank you. Thank you, team. Thank you. Gaurav, would you like to take up now?
Sure.
Thank you.
I think thank you all for this session. There were some great questions, and happy we could have an interactive session over there. First thing I would want all of you all to do is kind of bookmark this next session. If you thought this one was interesting, I'm sure this is just the trailer. And we have great masterclasses lined up on 21st of May also that is coming. So please bookmark this into the calendar, and we will be more than happy to also provide you with a short brief about what happened in this session. Okay. Can we move on to the next slide, Abhijit, just for a quick 2 minutes before we close the webinar? All right. So if we look at the presentation, there were 4 key points that was mentioned in determining an HRMS. I would like to talk a little bit about our own HRMS, which is the FiEdge HRMS, which has been developed specifically with Viva being at the center over there. Okay. So one was ease of use. Definitely, our system is available on multiple platforms, and it has been designed keeping in mind the most digitally averse user. Okay. Integration depth. Yes, we connect with multiple systems with multiple APIs, so that the manual intervention in moving data from one place to another is completely removed. Scalability, yes, cloud-based system, you can scale it. And if currently many of you are looking at an HRMS that only provides leave attendance and payroll, I want you to think again, because in the next 2 or 3 years, your employee size is going to double, and I can guarantee that a leave attendance payroll will not be sufficient. At that point, you would want a system wherein if you can just plug and play and increase the number of modules, that would be better. All right. And with that, there is also a fourth point, vendor support quality. So yes, we are a company that doesn't believe in a ticket system. It's a live team that gets allocated to you who solves your queries. And the fifth point is, with so many concerns about security, so many concerns about AI coming up, we're proud to announce that FiEdge is an ISO 27001 certified company. We can guarantee that all of your data is stored according to the DPDP Act parameters, as well as to ensure that we are able to increase adoption of the system. We are an AI-powered HRMS. So in the 22 modules that we see, in about 7 to 8 modules, we have implemented and integrated AI features in them that have helped our companies drop down or increase the productivity by a minimum of 30-35%. So that is a very good achievement by the customer success team at FiEdge. And of course, it's a 22 plus module, which helps you actually take care of hire to retire with linked modules. Right. So that's all from my side. I think it was a great masterclass, and hopefully we'll get to see you all again on 21st of May. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, team. Thank you.